The chandelier-lit ballroom hummed with the low thunder of wealth, crystal glasses chimed, silk-brushed marble, and the city's most powerful executives laughed as if tomorrow were already bought and paid for, and moving silently among them was Daniel Reed, a waiter with tired eyes and steady hands, a single father who had learned to balance trays the way he balanced life, carefully, deliberately, never spilling more than he could afford to lose, because every tip meant school shoes for his 8-year-old daughter Lily. Every shift meant rent paid one more month, and every quiet breath behind the scenes meant another night tucking her in and promising her that things would get better, though tonight his pulse was different, heavier, because across the room stood Eleanor Blackwood, the CEO everyone feared, a woman in a flawless white suit whose company had crushed competitors without blinking, whose signature on a document 5 years earlier had erased Daniel's world, though she didn't know his name, didn't remember the factory she closed, the pension funds frozen, the insurance cancelled, the night his wife collapsed on the kitchen floor with a medical bill on the table and a look that said the numbers didn't add up to survival, and Daniel had never blamed Eleanor for his wife's death, not directly, but he blamed the system she mastered, the system that had forced him to choose between care and debt, between hope and hunger, and tonight, as he approached her table with a silver coffee pot gleaming under gold light, his mind replayed Lily's question from that morning, asking why people who work hard still lose, and Daniel had no answer then, but he had one now, because this wasn't an accident, not anymore, and as Eleanor turned slightly, distracted by applause, Daniel tipped the pot just enough, a controlled arc of dark liquid staining white fabric, time freezing as gasps erupted, cameras flashing, Eleanor's hand flying to her chest as shock hardened into fury, and Daniel stepping back, eyes wide, voice low but steady, apologizing as protocol demanded, though his heart pounded like a verdict being read, and security moved, but Eleanor raised a hand, staring at him, not because of the stain, but because of the way he looked at her, not afraid, not pleading, but resolved, and she demanded his name, her voice sharp enough to cut glass, and when he said it, Daniel Reed, something shifted, not recognition, but curiosity, and he asked, quietly, so only she could hear, if she remembered signing off on the North Harbor plant closure, and Eleanor stiffened, not because she remembered him, but because she remembered the report, the efficiency metrics, the applause from shareholders, and Daniel continued, his voice trembling now not with fear but with years held back, telling her about the workers who lost healthcare overnight, about his wife's untreated condition, about Lily growing up without a mother while he learned to pour coffee instead of steel, and the room fell silent, not from sympathy, but from discomfort, because truth in a ballroom is louder than any scandal, and Eleanor's face drained of color as she realized this wasn't revenge, it was accountability served hot in public, and for the first time in her career, she didn't know what to say, because no PR script covered a man who had nothing left to lose but still chose dignity, and security hesitated because Eleanor told them to stop, and she asked Daniel why he did it, why here, why now, and he said because power listens only when embarrassed, because silence had buried his wife, because his daughter deserved to know her father didn't bow forever, and Eleanor looked around at the cameras, the guests, the stain spreading across her suit like a mirror she couldn't wipe clean, and she did something no one expected, she sat down, told Daniel to sit too, ignoring protocol, ignoring whispers, and she listened, really listened, as he spoke about Lily, about nights counting coins, about teaching her honesty in a world that rewarded shortcuts, and when he finished, Eleanor dismissed the crowd, promising statements later, but this moment was hers, and she offered to pay, to settle, to make it disappear, and Daniel shook his head, saying this was never about money, it was about being seen, and something broke then, not loudly, but deeply, and Eleanor stood, coffee dripping from her sleeve, and announced a fund, audits, reinstatements, not as charity but correction, because for the first time she saw the cost of her success in a man's eyes, and Daniel was escorted out not in handcuffs but applause from a few brave souls who clapped when courage walked past them, and outside, under cold night air, Daniel breathed like he'd surfaced from deep water, unsure what tomorrow would bring, firing, lawsuits, consequences, but certain of one thing, Lily would know why her father stood tall, and as viewers, if this story moved you, if you believe ordinary people can challenge powerful systems, then stay with this channel, subscribe, because more stories like Daniel's remind us that courage doesn't wear suits or titles, it wears calloused hands and shows up when it matters most.